here from Motherwise, and welcome to this mini podcast, which we're going to be talking today about the third trimester and the do's and don'ts of the third trimester. So I've got quite a little list here, and we're going to do a much deeper dive into this topic of a half-hour webinar with my inner circle, my Motherwise Masterclass tribe. And if you're interested to join that, it's a very inexpensive subscription, and it gives you access to all my full-length webinars and podcasts, and a huge Q&A library online with about 600 Q&As that you can have 24-hour access to. So I'll put a link on that at the bottom of this feed. But anyway, let's getting back to the third trimester do's and don'ts. So I'm just going to run through. I won't have time to give a big explanation on some of these things, but let's just get going. So firstly, watch my webinars about epidurals and non-hospital births. So yeah, really important information there, especially during times of a pandemic. You want to understand those. Listen to my podcast webinar about vitamin K. That's a very misunderstood optional thing that can be given to your baby, and there's a lot of misinformation on the internet. So whereas I'm going to give you some more science behind things, pro and against. So do go there. Have a decision made regarding your placenta. Are you getting the hospital to dispose of it? Or would you like to get it buried? Would you prefer to bury it, returning it to the earth, or have it encapsulated? So those are all important options. You need to be really confident that you know the phases of labor and the stages of childbirth. And one of the easiest ways to get to know those is to watch my 90-minute organic birth video, and to also back that up with my free download, which is the organic birth booklet, and that is designed specifically for reference when you're establishing into labor at home. And that's really for your birth support person, but really interesting reading before you are in labor, but while in labor it will really serve as your birth support person's guidelines. And what else have I got on my list here? Make sure that you've read a couple of really good books specifically on birth. I'm not talking about pregnancy books, and I'm talking about books that the only topic that is birth. A couple of my favorites are Ina May Gaskin's Guide to Childbirth and Janet Balaskas' New Active Birth. Because although every woman's birth story is unique and different, when you start to hear more and more and more birth stories, and that information starts layering and layering, you realize, you start to see the pattern. And when you can see the pattern, then you'll be able to see the pattern for yourself when it's happening to you. And so really, really valuable there. Make sure that yourself and all of your birth support people, whoever is going to be around in the room, who's going to be in the house, under the roof, in the room, have any input whatsoever, even if they're not actively physically helping you as a birth support person, but they're still around. Anybody that's in the environment, get them to read my chapter from my book, Oh Baby, on labour and birth. You know, it's sometimes a bit tricky to get birth support people to read a whole book on birth, but they should at least read my chapter. That makes a big difference for the woman to have those people with that level of understanding. Make sure that you understand, you know things like what optimal positioning is in the third trimester, what your opioid options are, the risks and benefits of them. You should know basic breastfeeding, lactation understanding by now. You definitely should be stopping work, or just about to, please. Golden rule there is part-time from 28 weeks, not working from 32. That's a whole other topic, but yeah. Certainly during quarantine, with women not able to go to work, the world has had far less premature babies born. So yeah, we really want you not going to work. Embrace that nesting compulsion that is going to happen, and embrace boredom as well when you start to get over 40 weeks. And make sure that you have done your research on your partus preparatus. So that's things like your perineal massage, that you've got your herbs. You've spoken to a naturopath to do all the cervical ripening information. I've got webinars on that. If you don't know what I'm talking about, make sure that you understand all your natural pain relief options as well, including homeopathy, aromatherapy, the TENS, hydrotherapy, hypnobirthing, nitrous, etc. So make sure you know all of those options. And then just really quickly, finally, third trimester don'ts, which is please stop doing any Kegel pelvic floors exercises in the third trimester. You want a soft yielding pelvic floor. For giving birth, you don't want a firm pelvic floor. And if you're doing any exercise that makes you hot or puffy or sweaty, you shouldn't be doing something at that level. You should absolutely not be returning home at the end of your working day feeling shattered. Not okay. If you're shattered, your baby is shattered. Remember, you're basically one biological being at this stage. Well, you're symbiotic beings. Okay, and only last thing I'd say is don't be obsessing about the details on your birth plan. You know, plans, goals and concrete, plans and sands. That's a really good guide. So that's all for today, and we'd love to see you on our full-length webinars. If you want to join our Motherwise Masterclass with the Inner Circle, where you can also ask lots of questions as well. Wish everybody a lovely week. Bye.